Hello, this is Father Paul Giannakis, and welcome to Conversations with the Chancellor. This is my third interview, and today I'm fortunate and blessed to be interviewing Father Alexander Kukta, my longtime, very dear friend. We've known each other since 1978. We figured that out just last night. And Father Alexander now has been the Dean of the Chicago Deanery of the Midwest Diocese. And I'm hoping to interview all of the deans actually. So you're the second one, the second dean that I've had a chance to interview. And I thought that we might just familiarize ourselves with your background and where you grew up from Joliet, right? St. Nicholas Parish.
That's correct. That's correct. My father was longtime pastor of St. Nicholas Church in Joliet. He and my mother arrived in Joliet August 1st of 1956. I was born about a month later. And so it was a wonderful experience growing up in an Orthodox parish. And my father was the pastor there. That was his first church.
Father John.
Father John.
Yeah.
And he was there for 56 years before retiring.
Yes. So very rare, isn't it, that a priest in the OCA at least is sent to his first parish and stays there for the rest of his pastorate.
I think it's fairly rare. Yes, I do.
Yeah. But there are some advantages to that as well, aren't there?
There are. I mean, obviously he was there. He was able to baptize, marry, and in some sad cases even to bury people that he had had a lifelong relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew the people, and the people knew him, and they were able to work together to do a lot of very, very good things.
Yeah. Wonderful community too. It is.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit more about what eventually, as you were growing up, what led you to the calling of the Holy Priesthood?
Well, that's an interesting question. I did not always want to be a priest, and I had grown up in the church all my life and was very active in things, served in the altar from a very young age, and really when I was in college, starting out, I was what people would say, I was multi-interested.
Yes.
Multi-interested. I didn't know really quite what I wanted to do. So
so you had a few different cards in the play.
I did, and I think it was really about my second year of college that it finally dawned on me that here I had been in the church all my life, and I really enjoyed being in the church, doing things in the altar and around the altar, singing in the choir, reading in the church. And it finally occurred to me that maybe there was a vocation there, and I had decided that I would prepare myself to enter seminary and to test that calling, to see if there was a vocation there.
Sure.
So even starting out in seminary, I wasn't entirely sure that I would be ordained, but eventually that's what happened, and so here I am today. I just celebrated my 40th anniversary of ordination. And,
many years.
Many, thank you.
Yes, this year.
Yeah, and so I've served, depending on how you count, 3 communities for short times, 2 years in Boston, 2 years in Springfield, Vermont, and in my parish in Palatine for now we're entering the 36th year.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And tell us about your family.
I have a wife, Natalie, and 2 daughters, Sarah and Rachel, and our children live near us. We have 6 grandchildren, and we're blessed to be able to have a hands-on relationship with everybody, and that's a great blessing too. And our kids are in the church. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
That's really the best thing. Or as I like to say, our children are in the church despite us.
Well, yeah, you can say that.
Sometimes, anyway.
Sure.
Maybe not with you.
Well,
So you've been in the diocese and in the deanery specifically for most of your life, with the exception of those few years, those 3 years that you were at St. Vladimir's from 1978 to 1981 when you were graduated, and then again a couple of years Boston and Vermont, Springfield. But tell us, how has the deanery changed in these years since you came here many years ago? What you said, 36 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously, when I first arrived, there were a lot of senior priests in the deanery that
Yeah.
had been here since I was a
Yeah.
youth.
I
And
remember I was here too. Yeah.
yeah, and so as life goes, they retired or reposed in the Lord, and others came to take their positions in parishes. So it's been a gradual transition over the years, and so now we have quite a few new clergy, and I'm very, very thankful for that because it means that things are alive,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we don't have to worry, I don't think, too much about people coming up in the ranks, to take our positions when we finally decide or God decides to remove
Yes.
us.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. Well, and that's a fascinating thing too. Just speaking of, the esteemed clergy that we knew when we were, younger clergy. Father Siddigay Garclavs, your father, Father John Kukta. I mean, there's a whole handful of them that were here actually in this deanery, and very much loved. But it's interesting to see perhaps how the deanery has changed in the sense that the majority of our clergy younger, of course, and very much. I think there's a vitality, as you said, it's alive, but that most of our clergy are now convert clergy.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case, and I know that in the seminaries they seem to have a lot of converts there, and things are very, very different in the seminary now
Sure.
that we went to St. Vladimir's. I remember starting out there, and they had a pre-theological program
Yeah, yeah.
with guys coming straight out of high school
Right.
to study in one of two of the area colleges, Iona or Concordia, and then after they finished their bachelor's degrees, they began right away with their Master of Divinity program. That program doesn't exist anymore
Yeah.
because a lot of the men coming into seminary have already had one career, it seems.
Yeah.
They have families,
A
and
lot
they've
of second career candidates.
and they've made life-changing decisions, to go to seminary and to prepare for priestly ministry. So I think that to me that's a sign of great courage.
It is.
That people are
And
making
to,
these
to
moves.
have established families with children in school already,
Absolutely.
and then to have to give that all up and to move to New York or to Eastern Pennsylvania in order to go to seminary is really quite a sacrifice.
It is. And one case in point, I have a young couple that just went off to St. Vlad's. The husband was a professor of theology at a local Catholic seminary / university, and he wanted to pursue a priestly vocation, and so he was chrismated, and I advocated for his beginning at seminary, even though he had not had really a 3-year stint in an Orthodox parish.
Yeah.
After chrismation. He had had that experience before with his wife. So Archbishop Hall blessed that. He was accepted by the Holy Synod, the Board of Theological Education. He's studying. He's halfway through his program. He was ordained to the diaconate at the end of January. And we'll see what happens with him, if he's going to be ordained to the priesthood and where he's going to serve. That's all undetermined yet. Yeah.
God willing, he'll be a priest here when this happens. Of course, in our own deanery.
I hope so, but we'll see.
What would you say are the challenges of not just the deanery? What are the most pressing challenges that the deanery and the diocese faces as we move forward? We're children, the two of us, really of the 21st century, but there's a lot that's changed since we've entered into the 21st century, and obviously, the human nature is the same, of course, but there's a different historical path. There are different situations that we face that we never faced, let's say in the 1980s or even in the 1990s, that we're now facing in the 2020s in terms of, moving and praying and working towards a thriving Orthodox presence here in America or in the Midwest specifically. What would you perhaps say are some of those challenges?
There are many, as you say. I have to say that one of the things that neither of us were trained for in seminary was dealing with making sure that everybody has background checks.
Yeah, exactly.
And making sure that our children and others are in our parishes are safe.
Yeah.
From any kind of untoward behavior on the part of different people. So that's something that I wasn't prepared to have to deal with as a priest. But okay, so we do it. We do what needs to be done, and I think it's a good thing because hopefully we are protecting people in our parishes. Another challenge, I think, is just dealing with the changing situations in the world. I mean, we have people coming to our parishes that they come from a variety of backgrounds, so we're, I think, helping them to sort out things, any baggage they may bring along as they prepare to enter into the church.
Yeah.
And if some of them, as we said, want to prepare for ministry in the church, to do everything we can to prepare them. I think that the days are gone when we can just say, okay, we have a parish here, and just count on Orthodox people moving from different areas to come into our parishes. We always have to be thinking in terms of being missions. Being open to welcome people that are seeking something in the Orthodox Church that they are lacking in their former traditions. And so helping people to understand, I think, translating, it's the way I put it, I suppose, translating.
No, but that's a very good way. It's a very good word.
Our Orthodox experience into terminology that they can comprehend and embrace. So we have to be prepared, I think, and this is something that the challenge I faced as a priest. When I started out in my parish, I was the one solely responsible for training catechumens, and it was sort of kind of a crushing burden. And one of the things that we did was I encouraged one of my lay people to take on that role of being a lay catechist. She's very good. She sat in on a training session that I had for a class of catechumens, and then she took it upon herself to enter into the late vocations program in our deanery and to be trained as a lay catechist. So she has been a great help, and I hope to do this with others in the parish, because we always have catechumens.
Yes. And we have people in our parishes also that are immensely gifted in many of these areas of lay ministry.
Absolutely.
And I think we're going from an older model where the priest was expected to kind of be the be-all and the end-all of ministry, where we're able to maybe have a deeper understanding and practice of the whole ministry of the church, within the life of the parish, and be able to, find and delegate these people who can really make a difference, in the parish's life.
Absolutely true. One of our senior priests, who you know very well for a long, long time, has always tried to delegate responsibilities. He said to me once in a conversation, my job is to make sure I don't have a job.
Right.
And so
Father Andrew Harrison,
absolutely,
absolutely, he was always saying that we are not really here as priests to serve tables in the same sense that we would find in the 6th chapter of the book of Acts. This is what the diaconate, was set aside for. But that as priests, we are of course to serve the liturgy, offer the Eucharist, and then also preach and teach. And the more that we try to be, everywhere and doing all things, the less we're going to be able to focus upon the things that are really crucial for the ministry of the priesthood.
Yeah, and I think that this is another thing that really changed in our deanery and our diocese in the 90s under Archbishop Job, who wanted to begin a late vocations program to train deacons. And
Yeah.
again, the people that were in charge of this initially, Father Thomas Miller being
Yeah, the
the
dean.
first one,
Yeah.
he was the dean at the time, but also
Yeah.
the one who worked on this program. He wanted to make sure that people training for these diaconal ministries weren't just liturgical functionaries,
Right.
but people that would actually do ministry in parishes.
Yeah.
And so I think that this has been something I have to admit that as a youth in the church, seeing a deacon was something that was very extremely rare.
Right. Only when the bishop would visit.
When the bishop would come, and then
Yeah.
there were some times when the bishop didn't even have
Have
a
a
deacon
deacon.
then. So I think that's been a great improvement.
Yeah.
A lot of our
Yeah.
parishes have deacons, and they do a lot.
And the work that Father Elijah Miller has done with the St. Macrinas.
St. Macrinas, yeah.
Yeah, it's been has been very effective over the years. I mean, many hundreds of people in the diocese and also beyond the diocese have been able to utilize this program. Tell us perhaps a little bit about where we're growing in the diocese. I mean, in the deanery, we do have positive numbers. I don't like to speak specifically about numeric growth, even though we can't ignore that.
Right.
The diocese is growing. Where do we see some bright spots in the Chicago deanery, would you
Well,
say?
okay, so we have, I did a quick count before coming in here. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have 16 parishes that are established.
Yeah.
We have 2 missions, and then we have 3 chapel ministries, and then we have a couple of Orthodox outreaches that have
Yeah.
been started namely in Wisconsin. So, again, Father Tom Miller has been very, very active
In that area.
in Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
So Holy Theophany, what is now a mission, started out as one of these Orthodox outreaches, and it's matured into a mission
And that's in Lake Geneva.
in that area.
Yeah,
yeah,
correct,
yeah.
correct,
So I think that's something that is kind of novel in this. My experience as an older
Yeah.
priest, missions didn't always exist, but
Yeah.
it's good, and
That we're being a little bit more aggressive or proactive with the
Proactive,
the searching out of possible mission stations and
right.
chapels and such.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes we try in areas to establish a mission. That doesn't always work, but
Yeah.
we continue undaunted. We're not discouraged. We're okay.
Yeah.
It didn't work out here. We'll try over here.
Sure.
So and Archbishop Daniel has made it pretty clear from the get-go that he's very interested in
Yeah.
promoting missionary activity. So
Yeah.
we will
Yeah.
do that.
Yes.
We will do that.
Very good.
And again, I think working to encourage our parishes to think in terms of being missions themselves,
Yeah.
even though they are
Yeah.
older or well-established parishes, to have that mindset. It's very, very important.
It really is. I always say that parishes, established parishes specifically, should think of themselves as mothers, and mothers are mothers because they give birth to children.
Sure.
And I very much like the idea or the plan that we have where churches are able to have chapels, as I do at St. Luke's. We have a chapel that's in play right now in New Lenox, and is coming along step by step. But I think that this is a wonderful and a practical way of, like we say, being a little bit more. I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive, about where we are and how much we do have to offer. Well, thank you, Father Alexander, for taking this time today, and may God continue to bless your work after these many years, 36 years at Holy Resurrection Orthodox Church in Palatine, Illinois, on the northwest side of the Chicago metro area. And thank you for all your dedication and love to the deanery as well. Your father was the dean, right, for many years. And
Well,
so,
no, briefly.
briefly, yeah. So we're fortunate. We're so blessed to have you as the dean here.
Well, thank you. You've been very kind.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Father Paul.
Thank you, Father
Good friend.
Alexander.
Okay.
Good friend.
Okay.
Good. So that's how when you do the that
Clap
was
on,
very good.
clap off.
Yeah, clap on. What you do is you have to go through the